Suddenly, without warning, the ground heaves. A giant wave rears up from the ocean and rushes inland, sweeping aside everything in its path. What measures, if any, can be taken against earthquakes and tsunamis? Smoke rises from the remains of a city reduced to mounds of rubble. January 17, 1995, 5:46 a.m. A massive earthquake struck Japan's Hyogo prefecture. 250,000 buildings were partially or completely destroyed, and 6,433 people died. Most of those were crushed or suffocated by damaged structures. Why do earthquakes occur? A map of the world showing where earthquakes happen looks like a jigsaw puzzle. The Earth's surface is made up of tectonic plates. As they move, stresses build up at the boundaries between them. When these stresses are released, the force shakes the bedrock, causing earthquakes. Scientists believe the places where the plates overlap are particularly prone to earthquakes. No one knows when or where an earthquake will strike, so it's vital to analyze in advance what effects an earthquake would have in a given area and how to respond. Most earthquake victims are killed by collapsed buildings. So designing buildings to resist seismic forces is a key part of successful preparation. Reinforcing a building with extra pillars and beams will help it to resist the shaking that earthquakes cause. In a recent earthquake in Peru, many structures made of brick collapsed, but other brick structures survived intact. They were the ones which had been supported by reinforced concrete pillars and beams. Even brick buildings can withstand quakes if they are properly reinforced. This house has been strengthened by a foundation made of concrete reinforced with bamboo rather than steel. There are other ways of reinforcing brick buildings as well. If walls are made of courses of sun-dried brick, the shaking of an earthquake will topple them. But when reinforced with a grid of packing bands, the walls can withstand the shaking. Even small improvements inside the house can help prevent injuries. For example, there are simple accessories that will prevent furniture from falling over. Given the same amount of shaking, you can see how much difference it makes if furniture is secured by simple bolts, brackets, or other hardware. Awareness of disaster preparedness, realizing that tomorrow it could happen to me, does provide some measure of protection against an unexpected quake. Coastal areas need timely alerts for the tsunamis that can follow an earthquake. This footage shows the Indian Ocean tsunami of December 2004. Offshore, a wall of water rushes toward the coast. As it draws nearer to the shore, the wave mounts higher and higher. Then it comes ashore and rushes inland, destroying everything in its path. As it travels inland, the tsunami maintains its momentum. In fact, it even gains speed, sweeping over people and objects. This tsunami originated off the Indonesian island of Sumatra on December 26, 2004. It hit coastlines right around the Indian Ocean, even as far away as Africa and Antarctica. The epicenter of the quake that caused it was just off the island of Sumatra. A fault in the Earth's crust ruptured, causing the seabed to heave violently and rise 2 meters across a wide area. At that moment, the ocean water suddenly and swiftly receded from the coast of northern Sumatra. After that, a giant wall of water formed out at sea and raced toward the land. Topping 10 meters in height, it crashed ashore with massive force. The tsunami destroyed buildings as much as 3 kilometers inland. Carrying a huge amount of debris, it turned streets into canals and forced its way inland as far as 5 kilometers, in some places even going uphill. Boats were tossed ashore like confetti. How much more powerful than an ordinary wave was the tsunami? To answer that question, Japan's Port and Airport Research Institute conducted an experiment. An ordinary wave breaks as it rolls in, so its force is spent by the time it reaches the shore. But a tsunami wave continues to gain power even after breaking, which is why it flows further inland. Seen head-on, an ordinary wave passes quickly, whereas the tsunami wave inundates the camera. A huge volume of water continues to pour forward. The power of the water grows with its volume. Tsunami waves contain enormous volumes of water, so they are far more powerful than ordinary waves. This is the town of Bandar Aceh in northern Sumatra. The tsunami destroyed most homes in the town and swept them away. In some settlements, 80% of the population was affected. The death toll here reached 130,000. Many of the victims were killed by debris carried along by the tsunami. Even where the wave was no more than knee-deep, the debris was moving so fast that its impact plunged victims into the water with fatal results. Here in Bandar Aceh, the lessons of the tsunami are being put to use in disaster reduction efforts. One suggestion was to use the speakers installed on mosques. These speakers are used to call the Islamic faithful to prayer at certain times of the day, but they could also be used for tsunami warnings. Padang, the main city on Sumatra's west coast, did not suffer serious damage, but as the terrified inhabitants fled en masse to the safety of high ground, chaos ensued. If a tsunami alert is issued, where and how should residents evacuate? At Padang's Disaster Prevention Center, Indonesia's first detailed evacuation route map was created. Evacuation drills are held at the city's schools. If an earthquake strikes, the students' first action is to take shelter beneath their desks. If they hear the siren that indicates a tsunami alert, they leave the classroom as a group and follow a specified evacuation route to high ground. Efforts are being made to learn the lessons of the tsunami and ensure that society is better prepared to cope with disaster. The Indonesian island of Simelu is located west of Sumatra. This traditional nursery rhyme is sung all along the island's coasts.
Semong, sejak saya kecil dulu, itu orang tua-tua kita dulu sudah menceritakan bagaimana semong. Karena mereka bercerita 100 tahun yang lalu, sudah pernah semong di Kabupaten Simelu ini.
The huge Indian Ocean tsunami, which took so many lives, hit the island of Simelu too. But out of a population of 70,000, there were only 2 fatalities.
Rumah kami direndam air.
Gimana?
Botak rambutnya. Ya.
Waktu itu kan saya sedang mancing lah, mengiri itu di pinggir baku sebelah sana. Tahu-tahu pas arah kemari lah saya tengok kan ada masuk pintu sana tuh kita ada lampu suar, udah pada mereng. Nah, berarti ini gempa. Terus saya pulang, sampai saya sini saya tengok pun rumah udah pada hancur, orang udah pada lari ke gunung.
Traces of the disaster can still be seen on Simelu. The town hall is still unusable. What saved the lives of the islanders was a traditional nursery rhyme. About 100 years ago, in 1907, Simelu was struck by another tsunami. It taught the people a lesson that they preserved in song for posterity down to the present day.
Nenek saya sendiri masih ada dia. Sekarang udah berumur 105 tahun lebih kurang. Orang-orang tua kita dulu udah pernah bilang sama kita. Jadi kalau kita di Simelu udah ada pengalaman, ada semacam pengalaman. Oh, berarti kalau gempa lihat air, kalau air surut jangan mendekat, langsung pergi. Jadi air pertama, kedua di situ mungkin sempat kita lihat, tapi terusnya itu enggak sempat lagi karena udah pergi. Alhamdulillah itulah kita selamat.
100 tahun tei se uri adone humina terjadi sahuli fasang semong linon tsunami sagalo ata kumodong mangsi. Memang ibu ciptakan lagu itu karena menurut nasib kami waktu itu. Ibu menghayal sendiri.
Karena anak sama anak pernah waktu ayun-ayun apa kan.
Doi mangungsi Duma arere Enya pesan mai Mungkin kelalaian Ami sebaya.
The people of Simulu, in their villages and their homes, passed on the story in song. Handed down from generation to generation, the lesson of the old song saved many lives from a disaster that struck without warning.